clarify.
Couldn't have actually shot flares because
No,
it'd be
there
too
wouldn't
unpredictable.
have. Yeah, there's no way.
But it was so realistic, but it was so dynamic.
Well, it might have been lighting cues mixed with digital After Effects.
Oh, yeah. True. But yeah.
I don't know exactly how that would work, because I can't stress this enough. I do not know lighting. I just know how it looks. I appreciate lighting, but boy, do I not know it well.
So, one of the
I can program a cue board, and that is all.
So, one of the reasons I love Sam Mendes is because of his lighting.
Yeah.
Skyfall has a very film noir lighting, even though it's in color. Like, the opening is black and white. Mm-hmm. And you can very clearly see the dark blacks with the clear whites. And it's just very film noir. But the rest of the film is filmed very contrasting like that. And I watched a behind-the-scenes bit about the end, where they're in that large field and the Bond Manor is burning.
Sure.
And they're going to the chapel or whatever.
Yeah.
And they built a 3-story tall, like 50 feet wide lighting rig to simulate the fire of the manor to light this entire field.
Yeah.
Like, and just watching him talk with his lighting techs and just how into it they were all getting. It's like, oh, I fell in love with this guy. And then there's the scene where Sheffield walks around the corner and there's the burning church. And I'm like, oh, Sam Mendes, you reused your lighting rig. Oh.
Reused your lighting rig, rebuilt from scratch and redesigned to new specs. Ian doesn't know lighting either. He just likes it a lot.
I just like it a lot. But he's like, ooh, I know that effect.
Right.
I've seen that before. But I mean, it was him silhouetted in front of the burning church. Mm-hmm. Oh, just gave me goosebumps, and it was just so dire.
Yeah. Well, one of the functions of the one shot that they used well is not always having the characters be in optimal lighting. There were a lot of scenes shot in silhouette, or that were going in and out of complete darkness.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the reason a one shot is effective and exhausting is because you're experiencing the emotion in real time with the characters.
Yeah.
And you can't escape with the little cut.
Yeah.
You don't realize what a cut in film is until there just aren't any. So, like, it helped to sell the illusion.
Right.
Because when you're going through your life, you're not always perfectly lit. And it wouldn't feel genuine to have him walking through nighttime perfectly lit, you know?
Right, yeah.
So they didn't do that. They didn't have him perfectly lit, which is great.
Yeah, and it just made it feel so much more real and dynamic and just genuine. It felt genuine. I felt like I was in World War I following these two guys around. Mm-hmm. And then following this one desperate man around.
Right.
By the way, I totally missed the cues. Looking back, they're very obvious. But I thought Blake was the main character. Mm-hmm. Like, it was... To the point where he's stabbed and killed.
And you're like,
and he was like,
wait
what?
I'm confused.
But, like, there's certain cues where, like, going through the trenches, trying to find the crossing point, where Sheffield, I think, gets tangled up and the camera lags with him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, even though the plot is being driven by Blake, Sheffield's the main character.
Sure.
And it wasn't until Blake dies that I was like, oh, shit. Like, that wasn't the main character in that. Like, oh, my God. I need to, like, find more behind the scenes for this, because I need to know where this set was. I know there's movie magic of blue screens, green screens, all that jazz. And
I looked it up while sitting in the theater. It looks like a lot of it was sets built on location.
Really?
Based on what they're crediting as the filming locations. There isn't a studio. That could just be a failing of the information we have right now credited, because I'm sure they did some studio shooting in this movie, but it's all just general actual cities that's credited as filming locations.
Jeez.
So it looks like they did a lot of like on location set building.
Wow.
Yeah.
The trench system that they developed for this film were just real. Like,
no, it was, and I think by virtue of my dad and my godfather and then meeting you assholes very young, I do have a pretty solid base of knowledge about both of the world wars. And I think that will be helpful to you in watching this film. I think you could totally watch it and enjoy it without that knowledge, but I think it will heighten all of the things that happen. It'll heighten the emotion of the whole thing if you know about the war itself and some of the conditions and happenings of what was going. If you know a little bit of the context in which this is set, it will be more effective.
So I kind of want to get into the characters
Sure.
of the movie. The main characters, Blake and Sheffield. Lance Corporal Blake and Lance Corporal Sheffield. I loved them.
Yeah.
The actors, which they've not been in anything that I've seen. I think the guy who plays Blake was in a few episodes of Game of Thrones, but I mean, I never really watched that. But that was really the only thing that I recognized in their lists. They were brilliant.
Yeah, they were really good.
I loved their characters. I loved the way they acted. I mean, you sympathize with Sheffield from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
And then just the characters they meet along the way. Like the captain who they have to meet up with. The captain is dead, so they meet up with his second in command to cross over no man's land, and they give him a flare. And just the little, like, we don't like the Jerry's getting their hands on these, so if you find yourself in trouble, try and throw it back. Like, just nonchalant. Like, these guys are about to die. Like, he's just so shell-shocked and so done with being on the front line. He's like, well, if you're going to cross, good luck.
Yeah. I mean, I like that actor, whose name totally has just escaped me.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, there was a lot of...
I know his name, and I can't think of it at all. He's generally good. They did a lot of stuff with known actors, like really well-known actors, that wasn't distracting to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, Colin Firth, Mark Strong is in it. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Right.
Cumberbatch.
Cucumber.
Cucumber.
I don't know.
Yeah. But none of them steal the light at all. In fact, I was actually genuinely surprised how small of a part Benedict Cumberbatch is in. They used him and Colin Firth very furtively.
Andrew Scott.
Oh,
that's
Andrew
his
Scott.
fucking name.
Got it.
God damn it.
But they use Benedict Cumberbatch and Colin Firth very fervently in the advertising.
Yeah.
And they're both collectively in it for 3 minutes.
Right, maybe.
Maybe 4. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, Colin Firth is probably in it the most for maybe 90 seconds.
Right.
And Mark Strong's in it he's in it 2 separate times for about a minute.
Right.
And Benedict Cumberbatch is in it for about 2 minutes. Like, that's about it.
If that.
And they bring gravitas. They bring...
Sure. They feel like officers.
Yeah, they bring the perfect element to that part.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not the story.
They were cast in a way that used their status to heighten their role, but not to distract from the main characters.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
Which is great.
Yeah,
Hooray.
I loved Mark Strong's character of, it's like, well, you need to get there. We're going through it. Hop in.
Yeah.
Like, just get in. I'm like, well, the bridge is blocked. What you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to run. All right. Good luck.
Bye.
I'm going to keep driving. But yeah, it was great. I mean, I just loved every character. The French woman who adopted the orphan baby in the blown out city. My heart cried for her. And like the moment that he realizes, well, I'm either going to die or I'm going to do this. I don't need food. And he gives her everything. You're just like, oh, thank God there's still good in this world. You know, like.
Yeah, I would have been able to feel that if the man next to me hadn't gone, kiss her.
Oh my
Sitting
God.
in the fucking theater. It's like, go home. Go home now and I'll let you live.
There should be an etiquette class before you're allowed to go to movie theaters.
Here's your movie card. You passed.
God.
Or, just like some defined showings for quiet people. If you want to sit silently through this whole film from the second it starts to the minute it ends, you go to this showing.
I would go.
We'll kick you out if you whisper once.
I would pay an extra $5 to $10 per ticket just for that. Man.
I mean, not that I'm no fun watching movies, but if I'm watching a movie for the first time, I generally like to be able to absorb it, which is why I kind of enjoy going to movies alone.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not ever tempted to tell somebody something.
There's a difference between going to, like, an Adam Sandler movie or,
definitely.
like, where it's just a raucous
It would be
thing.
awkward to sit silently with...
Right. But, like... It would be like talking through Schindler's List.
Right.
It's like, that's borderline blasphemous.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
It's what I was feeling about this couple.
Yeah.
I mean...
Are you trying to say they're going to go to hell?
No,
There's a special place in hell.
Everyone who's been listening to this podcast knows that we're probably both not doing great after we die. But I was trying to find a way to frame what I wanted to say without being political. A movie like this that is about a world conflict, a world-changing conflict,
right,
demands a certain level of respect and reverence, which a lot of people nowadays do not afford it.
Agreed.
Good job, Lorian. I think you did it.
The words that came out of your mouth made sense. Well done. Yeah. No, I agree.
It felt disrespectful of both the people making the film obviously are being being serious and heartfelt in it. The people watching the film, for the most part, would like to have a genuine experience with this film.
Right.
So it's not only disrespectful to those people, but it feels like you're going back and disrespecting the actual people who are involved in this.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there going, kiss her.
Yeah.
No,
I totally agree.
Do you not understand that kiss her is not important right now? Because you're supposed to be understanding that some things change the world.
Right. Yeah. Man. Though this movie does give me hope in our current cinema world.
Sure.
In that movies like this can be made.
Yeah.
And movies like this can make money. Its opening weekend, it made like $539 million.
Well, yeah.
Opening weekend.
It had already won the Golden Globe by the time it got a wide release.
Did it?
Yeah,
I totally missed the Golden
won
Globes.
the Golden Globe for Best Picture before it even got its wide release. So, of course, people were chomping at the bit to see this thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and it did get a
Golden Globes.
Ton of nominations at the Oscars.
Yeah, I think it has 10 nominations.
It has.
I think Best Film, Best Director.
Yeah, 10. It's Best Film, Cinematography, Directing, Makeup and Hairstyling, Original Score, Production Design, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, Visual Effects, and Writing Original Screenplay. That's
right, yeah. I mean, I would put my vote wholeheartedly for Best Cinematography.
Oh, yeah, sure.
This movie blew me away. There's one shot in particular that it's one of those shots where it's so beautiful and then halfway through you're like, how did they do that? Like, it's when they're crossing no man's land